Okay, so I will talk about forgetting a little bit, and maybe you have heard about forgetting in the recent time. It's kind of a hot topic in logic currently, but most of the time you maybe have heard of forgetting in the context of signature elements. So I think it's the prominent way how to do forgetting at the moment. And to give a little bit more context about this work here, so we think that there should be more notions of forgetting outside there, so not so technical notions. And we try to get together all these different notions of forgetting that might appear in one framework. And this contribution here is part of that line of research we are following. Okay. So let's start with forgetting of signature elements. So in this talk here, we just looking at propositional logic, as you notice, so the usual setting, and I just give you the symbols which I'm using in the following. So we have a set of propositional formulas, we have interpretations, we have a models relation, respectively logical entailment, and we have a classical consequence relation, and these all things behave as usually. And because we are switching signatures here, sometimes we will attach the corresponding signature to these elements when it is important for that. Yeah. Okay, this to propositional logic. And now I come to forgetting. So like I said, there's a lot of work of forgetting of signature elements in the literature. And yeah, for instance, in ASP, there's a lot of work on forgetting. I think 2 days ago, we had to talk about forgetting in argumentation frameworks and in forgetting in ASP. And luckily for us, in 2017, Del Grandi came up with a unifying approach to that, all the things about forgetting of signature elements. And what he is stating is, okay, you can summarize all these kinds of signature forgetting in the following way. So when you have two signatures in the set of formulas, then you can understand in a very roughly way all the things of forgetting in the following way. So you're taking the set of formulas, doing the deductive closure in the sigma signature, and then you're lowering it down to all the formulas which not talking about the things you want to forget. And because we have a deductive closure here, you also get a deductive closed set then. And for the people who know me, I mainly work in belief revision, and this approach is very, very nice for me because he also have a characterization by postulates. Yeah. And I will not go into the details now, which all these postulates mean, but these postulates really capture this operator. And you have to keep in mind, these all postulates also describe only one operator. So there's only one solution to that set of postulates. Okay, what is now our contribution in particular? So we do two things here in that paper. So the first one is that when you look at epistemic states, like Jonas presented, there are also notions of signature reduction for that. And one of that is marginalization of ranking functions. And in the following slides, I will show to you that marginalization, the signature reduction for ranking functions, is in some way compatible to this what Del Grandi proposed. The other thing is we looked at the postulates by Del Grandi and proposed to lift them to the setting of belief change, and so bring over this style of forgetting of signature elements into the framework of forgetting of formulas. And this will be presented by me afterwards. So after the next thing. Okay, ranking functions. So what is a ranking function? So they were introduced by Spohn in 1998, and there are functions which mapping interpretations to ranks, which are here natural numbers including 0. in a way that there's at least one interpretation which gets rank 0. And the intuition behind this is that you think about plausibility. So all these ranks describe the plausibility of worlds, so interpretations of possible worlds. And the lower the rank, the more plausible the world is. And of course, because we have at least one world with rank 0, that's the most plausible world. And this gives rise to the notion of belief set, which are actually all formulas which holds with respect to these models with rank 0. Okay, to get an example about the ranking function, so here is one, the ranking function kappa AB over the signature AB. And we have these 4 interpretations here. And if you're wondering about the notion here, so this means in that interpretation, A and B is set to true, and this means A is set to false and B is set to true. And you order them in that way here. Okay, and of course, because here we have only one interpretation in the lowest layer here at rank 0, you're getting this ballistic deductive closure over all formulas which are compatible with that interpretation here. Okay, now to marginalization. So when we now want to switch signatures, for instance, when we have a signature sigma dash and sigma, and we want to go down from sigma to sigma dash, so reducing actually the signature. Yeah. Then, of course, we have to take our prior ranking function and output a new ranking function, which talks about these interpretations in that smaller signature. And of course, because there's some kind of reduction there in the cardinality of these sets here, there are a lot of choices to do this. Yeah, and luckily, there is some notion who tells us how to doing this in a meaningful way. Yeah, and therefore you have to think a little bit about what happens with the interpretations when you do the signature reduction here. So, for instance, when you look at the signature sigma AB and you want to go down to just talking about B, so you throw away A. Yeah, then maybe when you have these 2 interpretations, BA and B not A, then they will fused in some way. Yeah, so you throw away that A and only get one interpretation. Yeah, and this motivates to using this in the ranking function in the following way. So you want to get this rank of this interpretation here in some way from the rank of this interpretation. And the meaningful way here is to doing this by taking the minimum of the rank of these both 2. And this is what we call the process of marginalization. I have again a little example. So when we have the ranking function from the last slide and we do the marginalization process from sigma to sigma dash, then we throw away these A's here overall. And because we take the minimum, we're getting this ranking function. Yeah? So for instance, when you look at this interpretation and this interpretation here, then when you throw away that A, then you get here B, A here B, and you take the minimum rank of that. So of course you get here B at rank 0. Okay. So, and what we showed in our paper is that this notion behaves very similar as Delgrandi's forgetting approach. So when you do this process of marginalization from sigma to sigma dash, then on the level of the belief set, so the things at rank 0 is just as taking the belief set of K and then lowering all the formulas down there to just the language you want to talk about. And there's no one little technical thing here. So the notion of marginalization is talking about what signature you get in the end. And the notion of forgetting is talking about what signature elements you want to throw away. So for the theorem, you have to do this flipping here. So, and they're, of course, directly related together. Okay. So As Jonas said in his talk, ranking functions are used as representation for epistemic states. And after now, these things work so well with forgetting, it motivates us to looking more what you normally do, or at least we normally do with epistemic states, and this is belief change. And therefore, we are switching now the framework a little bit and go over to forgetting of formulas. And so this operation we considered in the last slide was this one and this one. And when you look at the types, so there are some of type that you have your representation, and then you take a signature and output a set of formulas again, or a set of ranking functions. And the belief change, it's a little bit different. So there in the very general setting of Darwich and Pearl, you have this abstraction that you only have representation of epistemic state, but not saying what they exactly are, except for that you assume that they are induced some kind of belief set, which is also a deductive closed set of formulas. And belief change operators in that framework are operations of the type that you have an epistemic state and taking a formula and output a new epistemic state. And there are no multiple ways to bringing these operations to that framework here. And we decided to look at the axiomatic way. So we are taking the postulates that Grandy provided and transferring that to that framework and looking what we get. And this is what I show now on the following slides. Okay. So postulates. So here again a little bit symbol table. Maybe you forgot what all these symbols mean. And I will now go step by step through the postulates and I explain how we translated them. So the first, so at first, so here above is the postulate by Del Grande, and here is our translation. And for the first postulate, which is this one here, we understand it in a way that it says, okay, when you do kind of forgetting, then you do no addition of beliefs. And this is already a well-known property in belief change. So we have the inclusion postulate when you look at belief contraction, and this is exactly this one here. The second one by Del Grande is that forgetting behaves in some way monotonic. So when you have a bigger set of formulas and you forget the same atoms, then of course you get at least you also get a bigger set of formulas in the end after forgetting. It's a very natural property, and we translated this very straightforwardly in the following way, as you see here. So it's just a replacement in some way here. The first really interesting postulate is this DFP4, and it states that when you have some relation between signatures you want to forget, and on the one is smaller, then doing as an intermediate step, forgetting this smaller set of atoms has no effect. So I think it's very reasonable for getting to doing these things. And here's some choice. So we decided to translate it as follows. So when you have an implication and you priorly forget that implied formula before forgetting the formula who implies that formula, then you get the same result, which will turns out very, very powerful later on. There are more postulates to look at. So DFPF5 and DFPF6 also talk about in some way that when you have multiple atoms you want to forget, then you can of course you can split up that, then you can do it independently and then combine it together later on. And for us, this was that when you look at formulas, this applies, of course, in some way, should apply, of course, in some way to disjunctions. Yeah? So when you can split up your formula into two disjuncts, then you can do this independently. And when you're familiar with belief revision, maybe this reminds a little bit of disjunctive factoring, which is nearly the same as this, except that there is some case distinction on the right side, where you either have that case or this combination. It's some kind of stronger version of disjunctive factoring, which you have in belief contraction. DFB6 by Del Grande does something similar to DFB5. So when you again have this split up situation, then Del Grande proposes or says that forgetting these in the order of forgetting this disjunct set of atoms has no influence. So you can do it in any order you want. And because of DFP5 in our translation, there we decided to translate it as follows. So when you have a disjunction, the order doesn't matter if you forget one disjunct before the other or other way around. Okay, so you may see that here is some index shift. So the thing is, we have no counterparts for DFP3 and DFP7, at least no direct counterparts. So, but when you look at these postulates, so both of them talking about that when you do forgetting, then afterwards you get something which does not talk anymore about the smaller set of these atoms you want to forget. Yeah, so we have all these closures or these reduction to sets of formulas which not talk about P anymore. Yeah, and you can understand this in some way as a success condition, and therefore we take the success condition of contraction for our interpretation here, which states that when you do want to forget a formula, then afterwards you don't believe the formula anymore. At least it's in a tautology, because you don't want to throw away tautologies when you have belief sets. It's impossible. Okay. So we have now this set of postulates, and you might wonder if there even exists one operator which satisfies these postulates, because these postulates look very powerful. And I have a good news. There is some operator which satisfies these postulates. But this operator is the only one operator, and it behaves not as expected. Because the only operator which satisfies this set of postulates is the operator who outputs regarding which epistemic state you put in and which formula you put in. You always get out an epistemic state with belief only in tautologies. So you forget everything. And maybe that's not a surprise, because the postulates in the setting of signature reduction or forgetting of signature elements was also characterizing only one operator. Yeah, okay. What we find out is that especially three of the postulates are a very restrictive combination. And these are these three ones here: DFPS3, DFPS4, and DFPS5. And I will explain on the following slide why they are so powerful. Okay. So when you have these three postulates, you can relatively easily derive from these three that you have also syntax independence, which is okay. Yeah, so that's a very normal assumption when you do belief change. But what you can do also is the following. So when you have a conjunction, then you can relatively easily apply DFPS3 in getting, okay, when you look at the postulate, so of course every conjunction implies its conjuncts. So you can DFPS3, and so you can't, before you forget this one, and it has no influence. okay, that's fine. But then you can apply DFPS5 and say, okay, because you have that situation, you can switching to a disjunction. And yeah, it's no surprise that this disjunction is equivalent to this formula here. So you get, when you have a conjunction, you can throw away one of the conjuncts and getting the same result. Yeah. And of course, you can put in here the tautology always. So that explains why you only getting only this operator which behaves not so well. Okay, and now I come already to the end of my talk. So what I showed to you, so I showed that the notion of marginalization for ranking functions is compatible with the notion of forgetting of signature elements. And I also showed you how you can translate Del Grandi's postulates into the setting of belief change in epistemic states. And that they behave not so well, but at least we have a characterization theorem. And what we are currently working on, we already started, is that we look at subsets of these postulates we get, and also variations of these postulates, to getting more meaningful operators, and making these two frameworks a little bit more comparable. Yeah? And so in the end, it would be nice to having some comparison between AGM contraction and these kind of signature reduction, respectively that's translation. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for your attention.